Welcome back, friends. How are you? In life, we welcome different seasons that we experience. With each season that we experience, we are to learn the valuable lessons that come with it. When you look at the father figure is the first male that the woman and the male child actually experiences in their life outside of the mother. The mother is the first teacher, but the absentee parent, the attention is placed upon that parent because that parent is not there, and the child longs for the presence of that parent. Let's go back. You see, when I was a child, even with the different examples that I was made to see, I asked that I be placed in a different position. From me watching the adults around me, I had to go with God and have a conversation. That conversation was that I did not want to be placed with just any man. I wanted my husband to be a special, unique person, a person who I could be proud to call my husband, and my children could equally be proud to call their father. It is a gift when you are equally yoked with a mate who is able to carry out the rewarding experience of the exchange. One who would be welcoming as well as as well as lovingly open to the experience of learning, growing, and understanding each other. Now, some people say, "Oh, that's mere fairy tale. No marriage is perfect." And while you might say that no marriage is perfect, because you might not have seen a perfect marriage, there is striving to have better, to be better, to learn better, to know better in a relationship. No, everyone is not perfect, so maybe a marriage is not perfect to some, but we can all dream. And while we're dreaming, we can look at the individuals in our life and learn from them as we move along. When I was younger, I went to high school with my brother. Now, my brother was always older than me, so he was always a grade higher than me. And with him being a grade higher than me, I had to deal with different experiences. Now, as you grow older, you follow behind your older siblings. You want to do what they do. You want to be like them. Some people say like Mike. But while you're observing and while you are becoming your own individual, you have to have someone to look at as an example, to see where you can grow from, to see who you can be like, or to see how you can strive at being better than, be it a competition or just be it at self-improvement. I remember going to high school and meeting this, I was met with a few young ladies, but this one girl was very bold. She came to me and she said, "Listen, I see how you be looking at my man." And I said, "Excuse me?" And she said, every day I see you all in my man's face. And I'm going to tell you right now, you need to back up because he is mine." And I'm looking at this girl like she has two heads. And I just had to ask the question. I just had to. Who are we referring to? She said, "Joe, that's my man." And I let her go all through all these different antics that she went through before I finally said to her, because I thought we might have to fight. And I'm not really a fighter, but I'm telling you, I felt like I might have to defend myself. So while she was doing all this talking, I was observing to see exactly which way I had to turn or which way I had to go around her. How was this going to be avoided? Or if I had to defend myself, how was this going to be handled? Till she finally said it. She was talking about my older brother. I said, "Excuse me." I said, "First of all, that is my brother." She said, "Oh, my bad. I'm sorry." "Well, since you're going to be my sister-in-law, I guess we got to get along." I was like, "Oh, no." I said, I don't think that he's interested in you. And she said, well, he might not be now, but give him this letter. He never received that letter. I put that letter in the garbage. I knew that if I had even so much as welcomed the opportunity to give him this letter, that household would be a mess today. Now, some people say, oh, why didn't you just give him the letter? Well, part of the letter that I would have been given to him was also mixed up with a whole bunch of things that would not be good for a male's eyes, anyone's eyes. And I found it really interesting that we would be doing this in high school. So later on in years, when we crossed the path of this very same girl, my brother said he was never interested in her in the first place. But that is beside the point. What we usually do is we tend to step into positions because we feel as though we are privy to that experience or privy to that position. Each individual must make their own choice or choices. And while we're making these choices, we have to look at what it is that God might want us to do. Nobody's perfect, and we're all living these different experiences to grow and become even better. But it has to first stem from the Father. You see, I remember this one woman I met. She was the mother of one of my brother's girlfriends. And she said, look, I want to meet the Father. We didn't understand what she was talking about. Why would you want to meet the Father? I mean, what, are they getting married? She said, no, I want to meet the Father because I want to know where all of this is coming from. Again, there was not a problem. They were getting along. They had a nice relationship. But the woman was looking at body language. She was looking at the different choices and decisions that were being made. And she was looking at her daughter. And she said, I want my daughter to be with someone who's going to make the right choices that are going to affect their lives. And I don't know that this would be the right choice. Can't blame the woman for wondering or wanting to know. So later on, she met my father. And she said before she met him, she said, I know him. I know his kind. And I want to make sure, because you know what? When a man makes poor choices for his children, those children meet other people and make poor choices for them as well. I want to meet the Father because the Father is the one who would be setting different examples, and the Father would be the one to invest in the Son. I want to know that he invested in his son because it doesn't look like he did much investing. And at first, my feelings were kind of hurt. Like, what is she really saying? When she met my father, she said she used to hang out with him years ago. And some of the choices that he was making helped her to know where he would be leading his life. And when she met my brother, she felt sorry for him. Very sorry for him because his father never invested in him. And in the long run, because his father had not invested in him, he might not know the right choices to make for her daughter. Now, some people might say, oh, that's deep. She doesn't even have that position. Well, she does have that position because her daughter is now underage. She's trying to help her daughter make better choices because when her daughter becomes of age, she will not have a voice in it. You see, sometimes people say, well, why did the family participate? If the family is participating on the behalf of good, on the behalf of this person making better choices, that is a good thing. But if the family are involved and they are interested in making bad choices, making sure that this person does not end up in a good space, then that might not be the family that you might want your child to take part in. So I understood what the woman was doing, and I understood what she was saying. And she was right. My brother was not the one who would have to take that decision on his own shoulders. Sure, he can improve now and be better, but at that day and time, he was only acting and reacting based upon what he knew. And he did not know as much because his father had not invested in him. When you meet a person, you are to try to impact them in a good way, meaning investing in the person, making them better than when you met them in the first place. Meaning, if the person needs your help in regards to becoming better, improving their circumstances, that's a different story. You see, like when you're dating a person, you say you love them, you think you love them, so you invest in them. Excuse me. Again, I had an aunt years ago tell me that when she left her husband, she left him with a fork, a knife, and a spoon, took everything else. He can buy a fork, a knife, and a spoon at a $5. He can buy it very quickly and very easily. It doesn't cost much. You can go to the dollar store and get that. But what did you rob him of when you left him with absolutely nothing but utensils? What did you do to the next woman that he meets? Because you're now paying it forward. Because you mistreated him, because you robbed him of an experience, a healthy experience, the next woman is now going to have that experience, the experience of his painful exit from you. You see, even when you start a job and you do certain things on that job, people look at you as that example. Now, we don't all make the best choices. We all make mistakes. When you make these mistakes, what havoc have you created for that last person? I try to make the best exit possible when I'm leaving. But at the same time, you have to make healthier choices as well. And if this person is practicing to mistreat you, meaning, let's say the person says, you better straighten up or else. Or you watch a movie and the person sees people being abused in the movie and say, that's going to be you if you don't do this, thus and so. Then you have to leave on the best recognizances possible. You know why? Because if you stay too long, you might find yourself being abused. So you don't stay along for that type of ride. You move forward. And if the person has to be hurt behind you, they're going to have to be hurt. Because you have to leave and protect yourself. See, relationships are investments. They can be investments financially, as some people see it. Or they can be an investment where you take the time to meet this person. You take the time to date this person. You take the time to get to know who this person is, and you give them the opportunity to get to know you better as well. You see, we all came here and we promised to be at our best. But we're not always at our best because sometimes we don't know what that is. My best examples were looking at my aunts and uncles growing up. My best examples were looking at my parents. My best examples were looking at my siblings, anyone in your circumference. I had an experience where, excuse me, I went to visit a relative, and during this experience, I got to see and observe, because you observe your surroundings, you observe what's going on in the household. While having this experience, I saw and experienced a broken person. The person wanted to just come home and just be able to enjoy and not have to have a debate, not having to have an argument, just being able to just be home and have peace in the household. And the person met me with a hug. Now, some people say, you know what, you got to be careful. And yes, you do have to be careful in situations like this. But I'm an empathic person, so I was able to pick up on some of the pain that was going on inside of this individual. And while I gave the person a hug, the energy and everything that I felt, I wanted to go and speak to the mate of this person. But every time I went to speak to the mate was unable to see the point and the perspective. I felt like once I left, I would be able to then meet the person halfway. You see, because sometimes when a person is broken, both people were broken in different ways. However, the female was broken because she grew up in a household where you didn't hear many male voices. And sometimes when you are broken and you feel all of these different experiences, when you actually go into a marriage of your own, you still don't see it because now it's you personally. And although your voice needs to be heard, the opposite person's voice needs to be heard as well. When I left, I apologized for what might seem an uncomfortable experience. But we never did speak. That challenging conversation is to come. But at the same time, you might not understand where I'm coming from with this. What I'm saying is when you have people who are in a marriage and they haven't been healed from the wounds of the past, when they come into a new relationship with a whole different person, they're still carrying a lot of those wounds. And without the help, you can break up a relationship and think that it's all the opposite person's fault as to why they stepped out. But it's not totally their fault. Some of those wounds you brought with you, and they don't know how to handle it. Because every time they go to speak to you, you break them down. When a person comes home from work, they've dealt with all these different energies and all these different people in their past throughout that day. When they come home, they want peace. They want love. They want to be appreciated. We don't always see that in our mates because we're so bogged down with our own experiences. It is a blessing, I'm going to say again, when you can meet a person and they can come from a place of understanding and not battle or challenge every day. When you walk in silence, that is an experience. I told you guys before, I met this guy years ago who I was able to have a conversation in silence. And when we actually came together and spoke, it was even more appreciated. Everyone can't say they have that type of friendship or relationship. Some people wouldn't even understand where I'm going with this or what I even experienced. We realized that both of us had a very special and unique friendship. But it couldn't go further than that because this individual was to be with someone else and I was to be with another. But the experience is what God allowed to happen so that when we actually connect with our mates later on, we would have this experience to teach. Everyone can't learn this overnight, and everyone might not understand what it is to be in a relationship that can be met with the same bliss in silence as well as in speech. You see, in our communities, in our world, we've been taught that communication can only be met in certain ways, but it can be met in more than just that way. Through meditation, meditating together, you can have it, and sometimes just in silence. We have to begin to heal because our relationships, what we're teaching these young people, is not exactly the best thing. Between the pants sagging and between the girls saying what they think they deserve and what they will deal with and what they won't deal with, excuse me, there is a great deal of unhealthy that we've been meeting. A lot of healing has to be done before we are bringing some people together. I said this before, Obama wants his daughters to meet, excuse me, mates that are going to be an asset to the family. And there are a lot of men who are growing up who are looking for mates, females, that they know are not going to just take them for their cash and then dash. They want to know that they're going to have a helpmate that is going to hold their hand throughout all of life's bitter and good changes. God knows who you're going to be placed with, and you need pray and ask for the right person to come into your life. But sometimes you have to learn from family members and friends what you don't want, so that you don't grasp something that you don't want and have to live with it. Because when people get married, you're really supposed to be getting married. A lot of people say that, this is your forever person. Some people say it's just a dream. And some people say it's a reality. In your heart of hearts, you know what's right for you. Others know what's right for them. But in the meantime, we can prepare for whatever it is that you want, because you can have it, so long as you believe and so long as you strive at it to receive what it is that you want. But it first has to begin with you loving yourself, so that you can know what it feels like and what it is to love another. Because after all, it is so lovely being you.